topic of whether or not Russia and the United States will wind up in an all-out war against each other. And there are two answers. And the first answer deals with during the final 3.5 years of the 7-year tribulation, in which the answer is yes, it's very possible that Russia and the United States could conceivably engage militarily somehow, since that final 3.5 years is called the wrath of God in Revelation chapter 16 verse 1. Plus, that final 3.5 years is also the worst time in world history, where everything gets 99% destroyed. In fact, in Matthew chapter 24 verse 22, Jesus said of that final 3.5 year period that unless those days were cut short, then no life would be saved. Meaning that if Satan had his own way, and if God were not to intervene, then Satan would murder every last human being on this earth. Matthew chapter 24 verse 22. So again, the first answer is that during the last 3.5 year period, it's very possible that the United States and Russia could engage militarily. Now, here's the second answer. And this is what I'll focus on here, which deals with the time period from this very moment up until the mid-7-year point, which is obviously when the final 3.5 years begin. Let me repeat that. This is the second answer. And that's what I'll focus on here, which deals with the time period from this very moment up until the mid-7-year point, which, as I say, is obviously when the final 3.5 years begin. And so the second answer is a resounding no to whether or not Russia and the United States will engage in an all-out war from this point up until that mid-point in the 7-year tribulation period. The answer is no. Russia and the USA will not engage in some all-out war. It will not happen. First of all, keep in mind, even though there will be no all-out war between the USA and Russia from now until the middle 7-year point, is it still possible that Russia and the United States could engage on a smaller scale somehow? The answer is yes, that's possible. On a smaller scale, a much smaller scale. It's possible, for example, that the United States could shoot down a Russian jet, say in the territory of Syria. And yes, it's possible that the United States could hurl a few cruise missiles at Russia in Syria, for example, on a smaller scale. So yes, it is possible that some kind of a temporary small-scale USA-Russian conflict could break out. But it's temporary. But remember, I'm talking today, I've said it numerous times already, I'm talking today about whether or not an all-out war between Russia and the United States could take place from this moment and up until the middle point of the 7-year tribulation. And again, that answer is absolutely not. No, sir. Now here are the clear key reasons why. These are specific and clear. Number one, key. At this point, in today's end-time timeline, then Russia, being the king of the north of Ezekiel chapters 38 and 39, is already right now in its divinely appointed place, being camped, literally, being physically stationed. Russia, I'm talking about, being already physically stationed on Israel's doorstep, and just minutes away from Israel's northern border, exactly as foretold in Ezekiel chapter 38. That's the first key. They're already there, Russia. And secondly, the fact that they're there automatically means, according to Ezekiel, that once this end-time scenario takes its form, as it is right now today, as I said, that Russia will bring all of its troops onto the mountains of Israel in Russia's all-out attack on end-time Israel. Ezekiel does not say that Russia will stack all of its military up against end-time Israel like we see today, and then Russia will suddenly turn its attention into an all-out war with some other nation like the United States. So again, what we are witnessing today, right this moment, today on the news, with Russia knocking on Israel's front door, makes it perfectly clear that Ezekiel 38's prophecy is spring-loaded. That is not a pun intended. In fact, in referring to all of Russia's military power, all of it, that's a key word, all, in Ezekiel chapter 38. In fact, that chapter uses this word all over and over, starting in verse 4 through verse 16. In fact, just in verse 4 itself, Ezekiel 38, verse 4, just in that verse 4, the word all is used 3 times. I'll read Ezekiel 38, verse 4. And this is God speaking in this verse. He says, I will turn you, that's Russia, I will turn you about and put hooks into your jaws, and I will bring you out and all your army. Got to circle those words. All your army. Ezekiel chapter 38, verse 4. I'll read verse 9. Ezekiel 38, verse 9. You, meaning Russia, will go up, and you will come like a storm. You will be like a cloud covering the land, meaning the land of Israel, which is specifically stated later in that chapter 38. You and all your troops. That's verse 9, which makes it crystal clear that end-time Russia today will bring its full military force, not some of it, but all of it, against Israel. The 3 quick summary points of all of this are, number 1, is that without question, Ezekiel confirms to us today that at this point in today's end times, Russia will not attack the United States or some other country at this point in an all-out war, since Russia is right now clearly, divinely poised to attack one country only, and that is end-time Israel. And the second final summary point, there is no doubt that Russia will bring all of its troops and all military power, not some of it, but all of it to end-time Israel. As I've said many times in videos and broadcasts and at Heisnear.com in several sections, with news articles that confirm it, that Russia, the king of the north of Ezekiel 38, already started moving its military southward back in 2008, 9 years ago, when Russia infiltrated and took over the country of Georgia in 2008. Then we watched Russia take over Crimea, and then they took over eastern Ukraine, and now they're in the Mideast inside Syria. They're moving their military and military firepower southward in stages, and now they are literally, physically camped on the doorstep of end-time Israel, precisely as the Bible prophecies foretell. Now, one quick final point to all of this, but highly significant, is the timing and chronology of when Russia will actually attack Israel in the coming all-out war on Israel's mountains. And according to the prophecies in the book of Revelation, then we know that this all-out Mideast war will erupt within a matter of weeks, or maybe a few months, like 3, 4, 5, 8 months possibly, into the first half of the 7-year tribulation period. Ezekiel's king of the north, being Russia, is in its divinely appointed place in plain view and ready to initiate an attack on end-time Israel.